Shri Sekul Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda All glories to the Sun All glories to the Sun All glories to the Sun All glories to Shri Shri Guru Shri Gananga glories to Shri Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om 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 Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So as it is the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, today we can read something from Chaitanya Charitamrita. This edition doesn't carry the Bengali, fortunately for me, because I just read how Srila Prabhupada was very selective who chants Bengali or not. Practically all his disciples except Bhakti Charuswami were dismissed because Prabhupada couldn't tolerate to hear the Bengali version of his Western disciples. So this is from Adi Leela, from chapter 2. It is in Adi Leela, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is introducing and establishing the individual identities not only of the devotees but above all of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, especially in his appearance as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami writes here that Govinda personally appears as Chaitanya Goswami. No other Lord is as merciful in delivering the fallen souls. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Having described Govinda in terms of his Brahman and Paramatma features, now the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita advances his argument to prove that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the identical personality. The same Lord Sri Krishna, in the garb of a devotee of Sri Krishna, descended to this mortal world to reclaim the fallen human beings who had misunderstood the personality of Godhead even after the explanation of Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna directly instructed that the Supreme is a person. Impersonal Brahman is his glowing effulgence, and Paramatma is his partial representation. And all men are therefore advised to follow the path of Sri Krishna, leaving aside all mundane isms. Offenders misunderstood this instruction, however, because of their poor fund of knowledge. Thus, by his causeless unlimited mercy, Sri Krishna came again as Sri Chaitanya Goswami. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita most emphatically stresses that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna himself. He is not an expansion of the Prakash or Vilas forms of Sri Krishna. He is the Swayam Rupa, Govinda. Apart from the relevant scriptural evidence forwarded by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, there are innumerable statements regarding Lord Chaitanya's being the Supreme Lord himself. The following examples may be cited from Chaitanya Upanishad. Lord Gaura, who is the all-pervading Supersoul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appears as a great saint and a powerful mystic, who is above the three modes of nature, and is the emblem of transcendental activity. He disseminates the cult of devotion throughout the world. This one is from Shvetashvatara Upanishad. O Supreme Lord, you are the Supreme Maheshwara, the worshipable deity of all the demigods and the Supreme Lord of all lords. You are the controller of all controllers, the personality of Godhead, the Lord of everything worshipable. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Mahaprabhu, who disseminates transcendental enlightenment. Just to be in touch with him is to be in contact with the indestructible Brahma Jyoti. From Mundaka Upanishad. One who sees that golden-colored personality of God as the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Actor, who is the source of the Supreme Brahman, is liberated. From Srimad Bhagavatam. We offer our respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of Him, the Lord, upon whom one should always meditate. He destroys insults to His devotees. He removes the distresses of His devotees and satisfies their desires. He, the abode of all holy places and the shelter of all sages, is worshipped by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. He is the abode of the demigods for crossing the ocean of birth and death. We offer our respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of the Lord, upon whom one should always meditate. He left his household alive, leaving aside his eternal consort, whom even the denizens of heaven adore. He went into the forest to deliver the fallen souls who are put into illusion by material energy. And Prahlad said, "My Lord, you kill all the enemies of the world in your multifarious incarnations, in the families of man, animals, demigods, rishis, aquatics, and so on. Thus you illuminate the world with transcendental knowledge. In the age of Kali, O Mahapurusha, you sometimes appear in a covered incarnation. Therefore you are known as Triyuga, one who appears in only three yugas." From Krishna Yamala. I shall appear in the holy land of Navadvip as the son of Sachidevi. From Vayu Purana. In the age of Kali, when the Sankirtan movement is inaugurated, I shall descend as the son of Sachidevi. From Brahma Yamala. Sometimes I personally appear on the surface of the world in the garb of a devotee. Especially I appear as the son of Sachi in Kali Yuga to start the Sankirtan movement. From Ananta Samhita. The Supreme Person, Sri Krishna Himself, who is the life of Sri Radharani and is the Lord of the universe in creation, maintenance and annihilation, appears as Gaura or Maheshwari. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nidhanam Namaste Saraswati Devam Gautamani Prachani Nirvishesha Shinabhari Pashtati Devatani. That Govinda personally appears as Chaitanya Goswami. No other Lord is as merciful in delivering the fallen souls. So, Srila Prabhupada made it over and over clear that we can understand from Bhagavad Gita that Krishna consciousness is actually very exclusive. Krishna says himself in the Bhagavad Gita, from thousands and thousands, there's only one who even takes interest in Krishna consciousness. Gets the idea this could be something. From thousands of these, one actually starts to hear. And from thousands of these, one starts actually to practice something. So when you boil it down, somebody who actually can go back to Godhead, you could say, oh, this is quite hopeless actually. There's very few. And we can see it daily in our preaching. I mean, how many devotees really practice, and how many people are doing who knows what in this world. Anything possible and impossible. This is so thick, this covering. Even as a devotees who are practicing, we feel all the time the covering coming back, all the time. All the time surrounded by people who just, for them, nothing could be more strange as practicing Krishna consciousness. Nothing could be more strange as to hear the holy name. Nothing could be more strange as see the detail of the Lord. I remember first time I saw the deities, I couldn't even see them. I just saw a bunch of flowers. The pujari asked me, so, how were they? And I said, who? Of course they are relatively Matna Mohan, they're relatively small, but still they were central on the altar, standing there. I couldn't see one thing. Maybe some glitter, that's it. Because you cannot see if you don't have the eyes to see. Our vision is predominated by our consciousness. We see what we want to see. The lusty man will see only women. Wherever the focus, the attachment goes, that's actually what we really see. The rest we don't see. What to speak of physically spoken, there are so many things here we cannot see. There's oxygen we cannot see. There's so many microbes and who knows what. There's so many creatures in this room alone, we cannot see anything. So what can we actually really see? So it is, and to see Krishna, like I remember when we started to preach, I don't know if it's still going on, people said, why are you worshipping blue girl? Because, Krishna has a long hair. So they just saw the long hair. Why? Because they're all hippies. And hippies must have long hair, otherwise you cannot be a hippie. So they asked Prabhupada, why has Krishna such a long hair? Prabhupada said, because he likes it. But he is not a hippie. That was the first instruction they got. Just to make it clear. So we always see and we associate things which were taught to us, which we heard. We are completely covered by concepts. This is me, and I'm like that, and this is them, and this is us. Of a completely illusory nature. To see Krishna as he is, even we are actually informed about him, we again try to implement these concepts. How it could be, and how is this, as Prabhupada describes in one lecture, one lady told me last night Krishna came to her bed and he was smiling. Prabhupada said, this is Sahajiya. With no qualification. Why should Krishna come to your bed? Of course he can. But why should he? Who is you? So this is all dream-like stages of imaginations, and we never get in a material world down from the mental platform. To break out of that covering, it's practically impossible. And Krishna makes it very clear in Bhagavad Gita, without devotional service, and that can be again acquired only by the mercy of the spiritual master, there is no chance we can relate to Krishna. Even we may be completely informed about him, we may even try to approach him, he will not approach us. Because Krishna says, as you surrender unto me, I reveal myself to you. Very clear condition. However, in this incarnation as Lord Chaitanya, he violates the rule. Because he reveals himself even without surrendering. He is imposing himself upon the conditioned souls. This was never done before. He is actually showing, I'm a devotee of Krishna, and that's how you live as a devotee of Krishna. And Krishna always applies his transcendental strategies. It's like Buddha. Buddha said, don't bother with the Vedas. And there is no personal God, really. Just follow me. The trick was that he was God. And he was very personal. And Buddhists, which are considered Mayavadis, they don't have even personal understanding of the Veda. They have no Veda at all. But they chant the glories of Lord Buddha all the time. And they worship. I remember, there's a tooth of Lord Buddha, supposedly. I don't know whose tooth it is, but, it's worship. It's such a pomp, It's the tooth of Buddha. It's very personal understanding, The tooth is him. So this is how Krishna tricks even the most impersonal class. That's, that Lord Chaitanya also, he said, I'm not God, I'm a devotee of God. So follow me, be a devotee of God, but by following him, you've already engaged in worshipping God because he was God. And this is clearly established here. So conditioned soul is so covered, it has to be tricked. Prabhupada said, you would never come to Krishna consciousness on your own. I tricked you. I tricked you by prasadam. I tricked you in many ways. And Prabhupada was very liberal. Somebody came with some spooky idea. As soon it could be devoted somehow to Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada said, yes, just do it. He made a hippie carving flutes for hippies playing flutes. He said, you can carve the flute in such a way you can play only the Hare Krishna melody. Something, somehow connected to Krishna. This is nowadays cheaply interpreted that you can do any damn thing for Krishna. Well, that's, we are a little bit out of these days, but of course, when people are so fallen, we try to encourage, yes, very nice, yeah. But in the ultimate sense, even following Lord Chaitanya, it's not as liberal as it looks like. Lord Chaitanya was very strict, especially in Anjalila, in the presence of these last pastimes. He was very strict what to hear, he was very strict with whom to associate, especially when one comes to the level of sannyas, means the ultimate renunciation with words, mind and the physical body. Lord Chaitanya was very strict. When one of the sannyasis only lustily looked on some Mataji, there was nothing going on, he rejected him immediately. That's called mercy. So merciful has a different features. With Srila Prabhupada, he was also sometimes merciful, but not talking to somebody to a disciple for 1 week, not one word. Even he was totally present. Prabhupada totally ignored him. I heard from my Gurudvaras it was the worst type of punishment. They were praying, please Prabhupada, smash me, beat me, but don't ignore me. And when they were really successfully praying, then Prabhupada turned around and gave him the sauce. And they were happy. Yeah, great. Finally I get to hear something from him. So ignoring or unrecognizes the presence of another, it's a severe pain. We all somewhat experience it down the road. How it feels like not to be recognized, not to be accepted as being personally present. That's very painful. So Lord Chaitanya breaks these rules, goes out and spreads the holy name and spreads Krishna consciousness even to those who are absolutely unqualified, who never had an idea how to do this. They don't want to accept that. And he is still doing that. Because any other incarnation, and we can study the Shastra, has a very simple rules. You surrender unto me, you read Krishna book. Surrender unto me, I kill you. Simple as that. Krishna is killing, even he couldn't walk. Before he could start to walk, he already killed Putana. Come, surrender, no surrender, finished. They think, well, how does it fit to the loving boy playing flute with the cows? Yes, it's the same Krishna. The one thing doesn't exclude the other. In India they are so confused. They even think that the Krishna on a battlefield of Kurukshetra is the different one from the Krishna dancing with the gopis, in the forest. They think it's two ones. Hey, which one is what? There's so much confusion in India. They don't know Vishnu and Krishna and what is most important. And I remember one Pandava Prabhupada was asked this publicly over the loudspeakers. Swamiji, what is more important, Vishnu or Krishna? Prabhupada said, they're both the same, sit down. Prabhupada was very, in India he was very, Indians can still appreciate it. And he also appreciates Indians for this one reason, that they can accept authority. In the West, when you come like this, they call a lawyer or police or something like this. You have no chance. Who is you to talk to me like this? So Prabhupada said, yes, in the West to preach, you have to drill a rock and shed gallons of blood, he said, to make one bhakta. Because it's very difficult, because it's Western obstinacy. Therefore you see also Western is depleted regularly, and will be depleted again, because of that obstinacy. So Lord Chaitanya's alternative will be ultimately prevailing as the only solution to the problems. Because one should also not think, sometimes Lord Chaitanya is interpreted as, I will just chant and escape, as some kind of escapist. Because he didn't even build temples. He cleaned the temple, but he didn't construct the temple. So, he was just chanting, Yuga Dharma. That's all. That was his main purpose. You never found him organizing society, Varnashram Dharma, You never find him doing these things. Because he was stressing this one point. Without chanting in Kali Yuga, all the other things will not function. They will be not possible. So we don't call it Varnashram Dharma Society, we call it Daivi Varnashrama. This means with a total focus on Krishna. And in Kali Yuga, there is no other way. Harinama, 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 Evakeva, Kolonast, Evakatyakanyata. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. As the chanting of the holy name. And these 3 times there is no other way it's also explained by the acharyas, is there is no way by pious karmic activity, there is no way by jnana, by study, and there is no way by mystic power, yogi. These three processes, how to advance spiritually, are not functioning in Kali Yuga. You can do whatever sacrifice you want, you can chant whatever you want, you can do whatever the things is. The process is right, the age is wrong. There's no power in this. It's like Ayurveda, all these herbs here and herb there. Yeah, the herb is still there. There's no power in it. And chant this mantra and that mantra. There are mantras for everything. There are mantras how to ignite fire. There are mantras how to shed tons of water from the sky. Kurukshetra was full of this kind of... All Kshatriyas knew these mantras. Therefore it was not just a simple archery. These archers were powered by mantras. Up to the point they could create a little local atomic explosion. This was power. These mantras are still today available. Mr. Hitler was very interested. He studied the Vedas. But there is no power in them. So because the mantra is not empowered by this, then it's just a recitation. It's just words. Sounds the same, but it doesn't carry the potency. So everything Kali Yuga is diminishing to such a degree that finally only the chanting of the holy name prevails. And that was the message of Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya opened this process of bhakti, which was always somewhat exclusive. You don't find it, being so cheaply, advertised. No, it was always, as you surrender unto me, I will reveal myself to you. Yes. So surrender first. How can I surrender to something I don't know? Yeah, well, that's the problem, isn't it? By the way, what do you know anyway? And by the way, aren't you surrendering every day, always to something you don't know? Man surrenders to a woman, he doesn't know one thing. Woman surrenders to the man, she doesn't know one thing. They are surrendering, and they are surrendering. Savanam, Kirtanam, woman smaranam, very intense. Full surrender. I'm all yours. Love at the first sight. They don't know one thing. They discover, I surrender to something completely crazy. Okay, another try. So people are surrendering all the time. They surrender. Prabhupada gave the extreme example of a dog. He said, they surrender. The dog is lovingly commanding, take me out. I remember the first example I got to hear, that was the preaching when I joined this movement. The first devotee who preached to me said, you know what I saw yesterday? A woman on the street walking with a dog. I was going, so why is he talking to? Why is he telling me that? He said, and you know what she did? The dog passed stool and the woman wiped his behind with a paper. This is service. I said, why is he talking to me this strange story? Yeah, of course I saw it also once upon a time. I didn't make the connection actually. That people are doing service and surrendering in the most bizarre situations. Ultimately, what is the dog doing for you? He just licks your hand because he loves you. They always have to lick your hand. What is the dog actually really doing to you? What a devotion the dog has. Therefore, the example of the dog is used throughout the Shastra because it can be used also positively to show that the dog is ready to surrender unconditionally. It's one of the few creatures amongst animals who can really surrender unconditionally. There's even a drunkard. He goes in a bar, sits the whole night in a bar, drinks, and a dog will wait outside because he's not permitted to enter, sitting in the rain. Then the drunkard comes out of the bar, he kicks the dog, the dog goes and follows him home. He will never leave his association. So Prabhupada explained, these beads, this is like a dog's necklace. We are Krishna's dogs now. Never leave, always follow. In the rain, kicked or embraced, fed or not fed, praised or not praised, it doesn't matter. Once this is established, then Lord Chaitanya's mercy becomes quite easy and available. And no wonder after Lord Chaitanya's departure, Lord Chaitanya's message was highly perverted by all kinds of sects and ideas, because they remember him only chanting and dancing and ecstasy. So they imitated that, but they forgot that there was a heavy philosophy here behind. You know, there's a very heavy strictness, adherence to principles. Principles means discipline. You know, yeah. So that's Lord Chaitanya's mercy also. He made the process available, but he didn't make the process cheap. You know, he made it much more accessible. That even the most fallen ones have what he's called Patita Pavana, who actually takes pleasure to rescue the most fallen ones. They couldn't be more degraded. There's nothing, there's no sin which can be actually explained, which Lord Chaitanya couldn't actually forgive. I think it's mentioned even killing a cow, killing a brahmana. You know, this is something you can't even imagine. What the reactions you get for this. And even that can be rectified by the process of chanting of the holy name, if not repeated again. That's another thing. Lord Chaitanya said, come, surrender, but don't do again. Don't take it cheap, like the Christians. On Sunday to the church, confession, and on Monday we start again. It's what Prabhupada called the elephant bath. Elephant goes in a river, takes a bath, comes out, sucks a trunk full of dirt and throws it on himself. You know, what was the use of that? So this is sometimes interpreted like this, that Lord Chaitanya is that kind of, you could call it an endless broomstick. You can wash yourself, clean yourself, and it will never wear out. No, as we mentioned here, Lord Chaitanya is very quick, but the process is available. Even to those who never heard about it, who are coming from a cultural backgrounds which are completely foreign to this. And we know even from India, it's quite a mystery, Lord Chaitanya. He is not so known. Even he traveled the whole India up and down. South India is not so big, isn't it? They don't know much. Huh? No. Chaitanya, who's Chaitanya? Huh? The Bengalis, they know. Because Bengal is considered, is described in the Shastra as the place of India where even the Pandavas didn't go. Actually, it's considered very remote and fallen. And that's exactly how Lord Chaitanya appears. And makes Bengal glorified by his appearance. You know. And we know in Bengal